You are listening to The Pilgrim on the 405 with Will Christ. Join him as he and his guests discover how businesses thrive in California.
Well, welcome to The Pilgrim on the 405. We're going to have a great time today. It's not often that you get, a serial entrepreneur who's like an octopus and got arms in 8, 9, 10 different companies all at once. But we're going to welcome Brent Stone from Virginia. Here we are. So welcome to Pilgrim on the 405, Brent.
Thank you, Will. It's a pleasure to be on here with you.
Yeah. Now, have you ever been on the 405 in Southern California?
You know, I have not. I have not been on the 405 in Southern California.
Well, this is the closest that you're going to get then. So wonderful. Wonderful. So now, Brent, tell us a little bit about how you got into this. This is not just serial entrepreneur. This is all at once, lots of companies. So how did you get here?
Well, I didn't start off all at once with multiple different things. I started off in food service, working as a busboy in high school. That's not true. I started as a dishwasher, and then I graduated to busboy at our local Outback Steakhouse, and I at the time was looking for my big break, because I figured education wasn't really going to be my thing, and I had an acquaintance talk to me about network marketing, and I had no sales experience. In fact, I didn't even really like talking to people that I didn't know already, and it was one of those things where I just thought that it was really interesting that I could have an online business as, somebody with no business experience, and I could make, buku dollars, and they painted the dream for me and all this stuff. And that's how I got my start in network marketing. And then from there, I worked a couple of different jobs along the way as I built my base, but I ended up over the last 15 years being in 20 different states or so. Thousands of people in our network over the last 15 years. Pretty interesting stuff. It taught me lots to do with all kinds of other business, not just network marketing. We've had so many people in our network that have been in different industries. I've been exposed to so many different things now, thankfully, because of that experience. So.
Yeah. Well, tell me what you love doing. What do you really love doing?
Well, passion of mine is really just connecting people. I think that's why I did decent with network marketing. There's definitely been people way more successful that were probably way more financially motivated and just looking at the numbers and the data and figuring out how to do that. But I was really just enthralled with just connecting the right people to the people they needed to be connected to. And I've taken some of our other businesses today, and I've done similar things. I've used some of the recruiting skills from that stage of my life, and then some other backgrounds. I was in advertising for almost a decade. I sold radio advertising, and I got really good at the tail end of that stint with recruiting for small businesses, basically selling the advertising to recruit staff, which is a huge hot topic right now. Everyone's struggling for staff. And I have a company that I launched recently that we're focusing on a lot of that stuff. We might brush on that later, maybe not, but that's something that was, I like to do is connect the right people to the right people.
All right. So connecting the right people. Now, when in EOS, we talk about the right people being somebody who fits our core values.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? So how in your recruiting what do you use to attract the right people that fit this particular company's core values?
So I don't know if you've read the book Who.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So that's one of my favorite books on interviewing people, asking the right questions, top grading interviewing. I mean, those kind of things are really, really big. And if you can ask the right questions on the front end, it just saves you so much time on the back end, especially if you're going to check references. And you get creative with this kind of thing in network marketing. You don't really have a lot of extra time to do a top grading interview when you're expanding in that. I don't build that in that industry space as much anymore. I don't build that style of business as much, but with some of these other traditional businesses that my wife and I have today, we're afforded some extra time, and we get references, and we can call and check those references and try to do a better job of that kind of a due diligence, if you will. And I think that that's really important, because then you can see, what their core values are. You can ask them, and you can put together some scorecards, if you will. So if they're not following those scorecards within a certain probationary period, you can, address those issues. And
Right.
people's true colors tend to show within about 90 days, I feel like. So,
All right. Now, would you agree with me that that's a significant piece of hiring is getting the right person, people that fit your
of
core
course,
values?
absolutely, 100%.
Have you ever had experiences where you had the wrong person?
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, more than once. So it's every time you have an experience like that, though, I will tell you, it makes you very hyper aware of not making those mistakes again. And it teaches you so much more than if you make a slam dunk on the first hire. We've had it happen where we've brought on doctors in our healthcare business where, it just hasn't worked out. We've brought on administrative staff in healthcare business, hasn't worked out. Same thing in network marketing, same thing in advertising business, different back end partners that do different things for us that, maybe just didn't work out, and different values. And it's not that they're bad people, but just different core values just didn't line up
Yeah.
with the vision long term.
So have you had the experience of having somebody who's very, very good at their job? I mean, they're in the right seat. They're really knocking it out of the park, but they don't share your core values.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's got to be
There's
difficult, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, think about it. Let's say you got a doctor that's world class,
Hmm.
and you know, maybe they are probably one of the best in the state that you're in, or maybe the best in the country, or whatever the case is, but yet the values just don't line up with what they're trying to accomplish with what you're trying to accomplish as a company. I mean, that's a tough place to be in. That happened
Yeah,
to us one time
yeah,
already, which doesn't one time is one too many times.
yeah, yeah.
And when you're doing healthcare stuff, but we've had it happen to us in other businesses as well. So.
But was there any stutter steps once you recognized that they didn't share the core values? I mean, what what did you do with that? Was there a conversation, reluctance to, to let this person go, even
Oh,
though
of
they were
course.
very, very, because they're very good?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, you're scared because here's the thing. I'm not a doctor, so the way that our system is set up, we have people with our healthcare business that will work for us, and they're licensed with different things. And here's the thing. You're initially you're concerned because you've got somebody here with more years of education than multiple times more years of education than what I have. and and
Yeah,
you're sitting there trying to have a conversation about how you just don't feel like it's working out, and this person has years invested into their career, ego, all these other things, and it's like, these are tough conversations to have.
yeah,
And not just with physicians or whatever the case may be. It could be with administrative staff. I mean, here's the thing: at the end of the day, I hate these conversations where you got to let somebody go or part
right,
ways or whatever the case is. It's not like I enjoy that stuff,
yeah.
but it is important to do if the value system doesn't line up. I mean, it's going to be counterproductive over the long term.
Yeah, for them as well as for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It'd be better for them to go and find someone to work for with the same value system that they have.
Yeah, and I often hear in these kind of conversations, I hear people talking about how concerned they are about letting this person go or having that conversation because of the pain that it would cause the other person. And and what I want them to understand is that the pain is already there.
Yeah,
If their values don't meet up with yours, they're struggling too.
that's right.
And
Absolutely.
maybe they don't want to disappoint you, but getting that conversation out of the head and onto the table is really very, very important.
So important. And it's just so unproductive not to do it sooner than later.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's got to be even more concerning for people, given where people are today with the hiring and uh, the inability to retain customer employees. What do you see going on in the world right now? Why do we have this great resignation facing us?
That's a great question, Will. I have my own opinions, but here's what
Huh?
I'll just kind of brushing on this topic. What I'll say is that I think that with everything happening over the last year and a half, 2 years, it's put people in a place to where they have to rethink what their own values are personally and
Hmm.
their own priorities. And some people are maybe just realizing that their quality of life maybe went down. They're working too much or whatever the case may be, or maybe people weren't working enough. They want to work more. I do know that the talent that is working currently is the talent that you want to have in your business. If somebody's not working currently, trying to advertise to those people is a tough. It's going to be tough bringing those people into the business, trying to motivate them to work. I feel like I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but we've
Well,
tried. Go ahead.
I, my suspicion is that the 18 months, and it looks like it's going to move into 24 months, but this time of not having a paycheck coming in, not having that automatic check. All I got to do is show up and make it through the day, and I get a paycheck. That 18 months where that wasn't there for people, it caused them to do something that they hadn't done for a long time, if ever. They had to take responsibility for themselves. I mean, if
Yeah,
the paycheck's not there, if I want food on the table for me or for my family, I got to go do something.
absolutely.
Maybe it's a freelance job. Maybe it's a job that I wouldn't have considered before. Maybe I have to make something up. I mean, I have seen so many Native women come up with, I'll sew masks, I'll create blankets, I'll make baskets, but they are doing things. They take responsibility for it. They had to take responsibility for their health care. And nobody was doing it for them. And
Absolutely.
now, how many employers are saying, okay, come back now and we'll begin to tell you what to do again. And once you've recognized that you can take responsibility, you can make choices, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people just kind of coming back in and saying, fine, whatever you want.
Oh, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see there's a lot of people that have, tasted what it's like to be an entrepreneur and they've done well in the time that they've been away from their, maybe their active style of income, their
Yeah.
job income. And all of a sudden it's very different. Life as an entrepreneur. I mean, there's a lot of good times and there's some bad times. And I
Yeah.
think you're going to see a separation over the next couple of years because there will be economic hard times and that'll weed the, um, that'll separate the people that really want to be an entrepreneur versus people that are just thinking that this is a good thing temporarily.
Well, it'll be interesting. I have a new client I was working with this morning, and uh, when I started asking him about what's the company about? Help me to understand. And he said something very interesting. He said that his focus was on entrepreneurs who were leaving their jobs, starting something new, freelancers, but people who wanted to get out of that other world. And I hadn't heard anybody focusing specifically in that way. I mean, it's I'll work with network marketers or I'll work with uh, freelancers in graphics, but to say I'm specifically looking at working with people who want the freedom of running their own world, running their own business, and he's using digital tools to do that. It's amazing. I remember back in the around the when was that 1998 or something, when there was a big layoff of senior managers, and this was right when personal computers were coming out, and so these senior managers could open up open up their bedroom, put in a personal computer for the first time, and run a business. And it made for a huge shift in people's aspirations at that time. And it seems to me that's going to go even deeper. I was listening to somebody on there's a documentary on Netflix about this young man in New York City who had been a dishwasher. And when this was no longer possible, he took enough courses in cybersecurity to become a freelance cybersecurity consultant. Isn't that incredible?
That is incredible. That's incredible. Well, you're talking about this, and I think, Will, that, these people definitely need to reach out to you at some point, because these new entrepreneurs, I mean, whether they're seasoned or brand new in the space, I mean, they should definitely be putting some EOS practices into their business. I mean, it's something that for them, just to get everything seated in the right spot. And I guess when the business is, coming up in the developmental stages, I mean, having some of that ingrained in from the beginning is going to be way more beneficial. That's what I'm trying to say. Way more beneficial from the start than later on down the road. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Well, yeah. The difficult thing is that EOS, the target market is 10 to 250 employees. Now, I have worked with a number of companies that had 2 employees.
Sure.
Well, not 2 employees, had 2 people. They were partners in starting it. And what it means is we create the accountability chart of where this company is going to be 18 months to 2 or 3 years out. And of course, all those boxes are going to be filled with the 2 people. And but this allows them to begin to put together the game plan. When will we replace myself in that box? What's the trigger? Is it new clients? Is it amount of money in the bank? When do we replace me in that box? And they have done that. And I think they just hired their 12th person, and they're successful at moving themselves out of those other boxes. So yes, I think it's, the biggest problem is that people have a great idea, but they don't have a business system. They don't have an operating system for their business.
Absolutely. I see it all the time. When I told you that I had a career selling radio advertising for almost a decade, and I spoke to a lot of local businesses ranging in size from just solo professionals to people that had 100 plus employees. And the businesses, you could have a small business with an organizational flow chart, and they actually had a system in place, and they would run circles around a big company that had no idea what they were trying to do, because maybe at one time that big company had a really good organizational flow chart that got them to that space, but they don't have a system to carry them to the next level. And EOS does a lot of that stuff. I mean, you have a progressionary plan that you follow and that you guys teach, and it's incredible.
Well, I think one of the things that got me excited about EOS 7 years ago when I discovered this, because one of my clients that I'd been working with before EOS came to me and said, I've discovered this thing called EOS, and this is you. This is what you told us about what you wanted to do, and it's out there for you. And that's when I picked up the phone, called Gino, and began to discuss it, and just fell in love with it, because it's number one, it's a complete system. It's got simple tools, and it's ongoing. I mean, when you start meeting every 90 days and you're looking at the quality of what you did, you're looking at what you expected to do, what you committed to do, and what you actually did. And then you've got these 8 questions that you have to ask every 90 days. What's our core values? How are we working with them? Can we give examples of where people are actually living these core values, or where they're not? And what have we done with it? Is this still our core focus, or are we getting distracted by shiny objects just because there's opportunities out there? Is this our sweet spot? What is our 10-year target? Are we still agree that that's where we want to go? What's our marketing strategy? Our 3-year picture? Can we all see that? If we go out those 3 years, can we see these 15 to 20 things that we have written down? Can we actually see them? Sometimes they change, but everybody has to agree by the end of that day, we're all in agreement 100%. This is where we're going. What are we going to do this year? What are we going to do the next 90 days? All those questions getting answered where everybody agrees that's what we're going. That is so powerful for people.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if people just have, a vision that they write down in front of them, I mean, that's something we used to teach all the time.
Right.
Network marketing, everyone's like, hey, put your goals down on paper, your vision, your, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, but it's not, it isn't quite the same as having a detailed plan in place. Now, I'm not saying that people don't have detailed plans in network marketing. There's absolutely people that do. There's a lot of success that's created in that space. But with EOS, what I found is that there's a very good methodology of creating retention for right talent. Once you get the right talent into the spaces, and then you can also project what their growth trajectory can be and what it can look like, what it should look like. And you can almost predict it with like sniper-like accuracy, if that makes sense. I mean, it is just impressive.
Yeah, because you're looking at it regularly and assessing, are we making progress? Is that still a goal? Do we have a plan to get there? And is it on track? Now, one of the things that I'm passionate about, if I could share with you,
please.
We are articulating something that's been kind of quiet in the whole EOS network for, 17 years. But Gino just published a book because we encouraged him to do it called the EOS Life. Now, the EOS Life is 5 things. EOS Life is you're only doing what you love doing. You've delegated everything else. You only do what you love doing. You are doing it with people that you love. They share your core values. They're competent. They get what the job is. They want to do it, and they have the capacity for it. So you're only doing what you love with people that you love. You're making a great contribution, to yourself, to your family, to the company, and generally to the world. I mean, to your clients, your customers. You're making a contribution. You're making their world better, simpler. And then you're being compensated appropriately. To me, that means that pretty basic is that if you're working 40 hours a week, you don't have to go out and get a second or third job to put food on the table.
That's right.
All right. And then finally, after the first 4, only doing what you love, working with people that you love, making a great contribution, being compensated appropriately, then you have plenty of time left over for your other passions. This is not a 90-hour-a-week job for
That's
anybody.
Right.
And what I want to see is 3 to 6, 9 months in, when the question comes up, well, is this still your 10-year target? Which generally, when they first blush, it's some big revenue number, and we're going to have these great products and services. I would like to see people include in that, when we get to this 10-year target, 100% of the employees in this company will be living the EOS life or have a path to it.
That's really awesome. I think that book, I haven't read that one yet, which I have to put that on my list, but it sounds like that could be a really good tool or litmus test almost for people to see, am I really in a trajectory that I'm happy with for my own life?
Right.
And that's something this wasn't a tool from Gino, but similar questions have been asked to me over the years from people that I have looked to as mentors and those other things, teachers, coaches, whatnot. And those are important questions to ask. I think at every stage of life, people should, be evaluating these things and really taking a look at, am I doing the things that I love to do? Am I doing these things with the people that I love and care about? Am I, having to make excuses for why I'm doing tasks that I should be delegating or whatever the case may be? There's certain, we have a new business right now where I'm absolutely doing things that I should be delegating. It's literally a 9-week-old startup. But then that's the advertising business I was talking to you about. It's a digital advertising agency. But basically, there's also a lot that we're just putting all the framework and the groundwork in place for our EOS model and some of these other things. And then there's other companies that we have, my wife and I, that, because of her hard work, my hard work, and, a good team of people, we don't spend a lot of time physically there. Mentally, we still do. It's not at a stage yet, but where we can just totally walk away. But that's also on our goal list.
Yeah.
To get it to a spot to where, we only spend maybe 2 hours at the office,
Right.
maybe every other week, but that's
Right.
not realistic for the next, couple months to get to the point
Right.
where it's like, hey,
Right.
we still got to mentally think about it, if that makes sense.
Well, one of the things that I am really curious about is when people, we talked about this great resignation, people not coming in to apply for jobs. And I'm wondering what would be the effect of a company saying in their recruitment procedure, we want everybody in this company to be living the EOS life. That's one of our goals. You come to work for us, and this is what it will look like. I wonder if that will help with attraction, retention, and motivation.
We just have to promote the EOS brand and make sure people know what that means.
Well, yeah, and what I'm excited about is, what our prediction. I mean, we predicted, 23 years ago, we predicted that by 2020 we would have 10,000 companies would have been implementing EOS because they used implementers like me.
Absolutely.
By December 2020, we had 10,500 companies.
That's incredible.
So now we're predicting that by 2030, we will have 100,000 companies.
Wow.
Will be using EOS around the world. And if you assume for a moment that, there's 50, the average number of employees in the EOS implementing company would be 50 people. That means 5 million people will be living the EOS life, not even counting their families. Right?
That's impressive. That's something to be excited about.
Well, and to me, when a company says, "Look, let's tell you what we expect from you. We expect that you will get to the place where you're only doing the things you love doing."
Yeah.
But we will find people to delegate to who they love doing those things that you're delegating. So, and we expect that everybody in this company is going to really be working with people they love. And this position, when it's done right, will make a great contribution to our customers, our clients. And we expect to pay you appropriately.
Yeah.
We're not nickel and diming. And then finally, we want you to spend time with your other passions, hobbies, families, whatever that other thing is. We don't want you to be spending all your time working. That to me is going to change the face of business.
Well, people are more productive when they actually love their life. When they can show up to work and they feel fulfilled from their family, and then they get to their job, they feel fulfilled. They leave feeling charged, not drained. Yeah. And I wish that I could say that it's been like that for our companies. It hasn't. I just stumbled upon EOS, and we talked a couple months ago, Will, but I just within the last year and a half. So this is I'm still a baby learning about EOS, but thankfully some of the principles I did learn in my first business venture, that's taught me some of the principles of EOS, but EOS is definitely drilling down to the really important things and making sure that you can give people things that they can be held accountable to, and also allows them to feel like they can just continually do a good job at their job and also be fulfilled, not just the owner or whoever the middle management or whatever the case may be.
Right. Yeah, that's what to me is so exciting, because this whole EOS Life thing really started off with implementers, helping implementers live that kind of life, because many implementers came from corporate America or from coaching practices where, and how difficult it is to run a coaching practice. You got to be doing all these things in addition to recruiting and advertising and marketing and business dev. Well, for us, 20 clients is really a full card. That's and that means we're working about 100 days a year. And that EOS Life was what attracted a lot of implementers in. Then we began to see that, oh my goodness, that's attractive to these visionary business owners who are working 90 hours a week, and people aren't doing what they tell them to do, and all of this. And so helping them. And now I see leadership teams picking it up. But if we can take that down all the way through the organization to the people who are pounding the hammers, turning the wrenches, sweeping the floors, wow, what a world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the things that I'm most excited about is over the next couple of weeks, having people within our organizations read Traction. And I know that there's other books that are out through Gino and the EOS, product line that are also very helpful. But I'm just going through on Audible right now. I'm going through Traction and some of the notes and the PDF, and it's just it's incredible.
And I think the Traction is the how.
Yeah,
this is how you work the business. And what I discovered was, I got to live with EOS Life for about a year before it was published, because I was one of the readers for the book with Gino. And what it occurred to me along the way was, while Traction is the how, this short EOS Life book is the why.
Yeah.
This is why not only we do use EOS, but why we even want to be in business.
Yeah.
Why we want to go to work.
Yeah. It's funny. I one of the best books I think I've ever read when it comes to this very topic, which I can't wait to read this one, by the way. But Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and he talks about this very thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, if people don't know why they're trying to do something in the first place, they're of course going to be disoriented, disorganized, they don't have vision. They don't have goals. They don't really understand who their target market is or their customer avatar. They don't know what problem they're trying to solve. I mean, there's all these different things, and people are just trying to make money, and they just totally, not only do they not hit that goal, but they don't hit any of these other goals either that they.
And I think that's the big challenge. I think that we as a culture came to that conclusion that it's all about making money.
Yeah.
And I think I have a wonderful book by a woman named Marianne Williams called White Working Class. And what occurred, I couldn't really understand where all the anger in the country was coming from. I mean, I realized that the media and politicians are feeding off of anger that's there. Sure. But I couldn't understand where that anger was coming from. And what she said was that in 2008, the essential contract, unwritten but acknowledged for many years, the contract between business and employees was broken. And she said what happened was that investors said to the local leadership who was living in the cities and the towns where the businesses were, they said, from now on, the people who are working for you, I want to consider them as assets. Right? So it costs us a certain amount of money to get from that asset what we are trying to extract. And so then they said, now, if we can find assets that will produce what we need at at least 80% of the quality, at 50% of the cost, we're moving the company there.
Yeah.
Now, it's a huge step to move from being a person to becoming an asset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when those companies left, sometimes those companies, 2 or 3 companies, were everything that was in that community. They just pulled up and left. And here's this enormous number of people whose culture was just destroyed. Not a whole lot different from what happened with Native Americans and blacks being brought from Africa. But here's the similar thing: is just, what do I do? How do I put food on the table? I mean, we didn't even think about things like training stamps or a program to really bring businesses in. And so I think that's where a lot of the anger comes from. And changing business from the only thing that we do is produce profit to, profit's important, but we're also producing a quality product and service, and we're providing a way for our employees to thrive and live a great life.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. I mean, one of the things that I think that gets lost in translation all the time is you have, on one hand, you have this owner of a company, whether it be investors or a solo owner or whatever the case may be, sole share owner, and their wantingness to create profit to pour back into the company to benefit their staff. And sometimes that's not the case, but a lot of times in a lot of small businesses, you're trying to create more profit to create more opportunities for your staff. It never gets communicated that way, because there's always something from the standpoint of from the seat that I sit in a lot. It's like, I don't do a good job of communicating some of the reasons why we want to hit certain numbers and whatnot. But then also, on the other hand, you have the staff side, and it's like, why is it just about money or whatever the case may be? Right. And so I think, my wife and I, we've tried to do a good job over the years of not putting out this front that, hey, money's not the most important thing. And it's not a front. I mean, it's reality for us. I mean, the whole idea is that if we can take care of people first, no matter what the business is, I mean, if you can take care of people first, then what ends up happening is that you'll get the money. The money will chase you.
Yes.
But most people, they get so, when you're in a sense of desperation, it's like if you're drowning, all you think about is air. A lot of people, when they start a business, all they think about is money, because they got loans from the bank. They got all these things. And I'm not saying debt's bad to build a business, but a lot of people, that's what they're thinking on, because they mortgaged their house or whatever they did to take that loan out. And people are just scared. And they want to make those bank payments. They want to pay their payroll. They don't want to. Bounce those checks.
Also, I see people who say, "Well, I don't want to share with my employees what our profit and loss is," because they will then crazy. Line up and start, asking for more money and really getting really clear about why this business is here. Yes, to make a profit. Yes, to make goods and services, and yes, to provide this. And you can put it any way you want to, but these elements of the EOS life, but to provide that opportunity for you to live a great life. Yeah. That's what we're here for, and that costs money that we are investing into that for you, helping them to see that, and then helping them participate in how to put that plan together.
Absolutely. I can tell you this. I mean, from personal experience, one of the best things we did in our healthcare business is when we showed our office business manager and our assistant manager our P&L. Literally, this has been some time now, but when they saw this, they realized that there are certain months out of the year when we said we were running really lean and they could actually see the numbers on paper. They wanted to work harder to help us mitigate the loss and increase the revenue, instead of all the burden being on my wife and I. All of a sudden they wanted, like, our management team stepped up and said, we're going to help with, sorry to hit the mic. We're going to help with this very thing. And so, I think keeping people in the dark that want to help you is it's asinine.
That's right. Well, that's when people become people and not just assets.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's it. Well, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. What do you see in business for the next 6 to 9 months?
Well, I appreciate you having me on here, Will. I'll say this just to keep it short, because we have a couple endeavors. The goal here over the next 6 to 9 months, 12 months is we're getting launched our digital marketing agency called Funnel Force LLC. And then we have a podcast label that we're starting underneath of the Stone Co. LLC banner. And that's going to be launching within the next year as well. And we're building a new surgery center for our healthcare business. So that's kind of on the horizon as well. We're going to be able to serve a lot more of our local population with sedation dentistry and really focus on children that are in pain. So we'll be able to see more kids. We currently see in upwards of over 500 children a year. And these are like the cases that the general dentists don't want to see in their office. They send them to us because we fly an anesthesiologist and we handle the details on the back end and some of that stuff. So we're excited about doubling our square footage, enabling to bring in more people in the community and handle more of that load. So those are some of the different projects that we're excited about on the horizon.
Wonderful. Well, if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they see what you're up to?
Well, I will tell you that the best way to probably find me is on my LinkedIn. I do probably look at that social media as much as any of my other social media accounts because I like the professional aspect of LinkedIn a little bit more than the Instagrams and some of these other things. But I'm Brent Stone on LinkedIn. And I'd love to, if anyone wants to ask me a question or reach out to me, please shoot me a message. That would be a great place to find me.
Super. Well, it's been great to have you on. This is just one more example of how entrepreneurs are really becoming the way that we're getting through the results of the pandemic as people take responsibility for making it happen. And this is one more example of how businesses thrive, not only in California.
Thanks, Will.
You've been listening to The Pilgrim on the 405 with Will Christ.